Please come back to your seats to begin with the next presentation. Once again, I'm happy to introduce Jay Lopez. He's going to be in charge of this next presentation called Experiences in the Accreditation and Certification System to Implement ICS in the different levels. Jay, good morning. Good morning. Let me sing while everybody finishes coming in. No, I don't want to scare you. Two things before beginning to clarify what we're going to be talking about. First, ICS accreditation is different from INSARAG accreditation, from user accreditation. For example, you could have someone with a degree in management as the head of finance in an ICS for a forest fire, for example. Could you have him there? Yes. Does the person with this degree in management need to do what you are doing? But could you have that same person with a degree in management as the logistics head? Yes, no problem with that. Could you have the same person as operations manager? No. So, we do have the experts to help you with what you have to do on the field, but management is out here. ICS often the ICP has to be far away. We were looking at the picture of Mexican friends yesterday, and some said that ICP is very close to the accident. It's separated to prevent complications. So we're just going to speak about that ICP. The other thing that we have to explain here is that there was a manual, and this manual is going to be distributed. It has not been translated yet. We just want to plant the seed of what we want to do. But this manual has existed for several years. It says that ICS, this is for forest fires and who does what and how our classifications made and all that. But what we did not have was a manual, and in California we began this way. I have nothing against New York, of course, but in California we began doing many things out of need. But we did this to explain how to get to that place, because what I'm going to be talking about now, I'm going to talk about how to get somewhere. For example, you have the inclination of working in finance or operations, but this book takes you there. It leads you. Instead of the whole system explained on the other book, this book leads you about what needs to be done step by step to get there, because the road is long, and there are gaps that become big if you do not have the certification in your organization. Gaps are big if you don't begin from the beginning normally and go up little by little. So when we are talking about this, that's the idea of this presentation. You need to see the mistakes we made and how we tried to correct them, and just to pass the experience that we had, and we hope that this is of great benefit to you. This was a long journey. It took time to get here, and it's not perfect yet, but we believe that this is a very good attempt. this is like exclusive of California. Once again, we're not saying that this is the ICS. We're just saying that this is the way to reach a position within the ICS. This is a certification system for ICS only. I left the acronym in English for California, which this is the California Incident Command Certification System. This is a system based on performance and study. First, you have to take the courses and afterwards perform in order to become certified. And certification is the process that takes you where you need to be certified by the State Fire Department. There you have to comply with the minimum course requirements, complete the class, and afterwards complete years of experience with fires that are not half-day fires, but I mean significant events. The higher the position, the higher the experience required. Because at school you learn how to read, but what you find in the books is learned also on the day-to-day. And then grading, you have to have physical qualifications. If you are not fit, you cannot be part of this. As logistics head, you see that you can see that I'm not that fit. We use more this muscle than any other muscle, but if you're on the front line, there you have to be very fit. And as soon as you become certified, you need to maintain that certification with experience and studying. This is the history of the CICCS. We had so many people, up to 230 office heads, and everybody said, how can we work with this? Because everybody was going on a different direction. Some began in finance, then logistics and operations, and they were all over. And the gaps were too big because events occur every day. This is experience. Often in California, for example, in forest fires, once we spent like 3 years with just small fires, but nothing big. And for 3 years, lots of people lost their certifications because we did not have a big incident. So it's important for these people to get together, and they got together and said, how are we going to do this? And the idea is to standardize certification and the qualifications for ICS positions. ICS was existing already, but how can we help people reach this certification? And then in 1996, almost 20 years ago, we also had 56 recommendations to begin, but these 56 recommendations, 12 were the most important ones. And out of these 12, there is a group that's called FireScope, which these are resources against fires in the southern of California. This is organized to address possible emergencies. And this is a group that just wants to see how to facilitate things for possible emergencies. In April, we began with this. This was the department head before, and he presented this. Okay, we have 56 and 12, but which one is the most important? And he thought was the development of qualifications and experience requirements for all the firefighters that respond to mutual assistance for a urban interface incident. Why? Forest resources are very important, but now we are including in the interface the human component, the life of people, of houses. That's a lot more important. And when we go to a place and they tell you who took this decision, who decided to do this, it's a person that has just one fire of experience, or a person that has not taken the course. It's very hard to justify a person whose house just burnt down, or the person that is not the best prepared person that is guiding the operations. And the other part is the legal part. We can open the opportunity to lawsuits against the departments. And the last part is this is what needs to be done. We need to train, we need to learn how to enter a place that's on fire. We have to learn how to put an IV needle on someone. We have to study and we have to train to do that. And then in 1997, it continued evolving, and one thing was established after the immediate beginning, which was the utilization of this book that I was showing you. It is internationally acknowledged. This is the basis for all ICS positions in the United States. There are no variations. I want to add this or delete that. Coordination, as I was saying yesterday, this is where we have the music papers. Everybody understands worldwide. And I'm saying worldwide because the teams go to Afghanistan, to Pakistan, they go to Iraq, they go to other parts of the world where everything has to be well understood. So this is the basis. And then we established 4 basic points that had to be handled, 4 elements. Participation is a voluntary of emergency staff, because you can say, okay, you're going to be my operations head and you're going to have to begin doing this. But perhaps this person is closer to a different part, so voluntary participation is better, because then the person can decide what they would prefer or what they would rather do. There's no problem to change that, but you can decide. So voluntary participation is very important. At the beginning, perhaps you can set some rules for people who work on operations. You can be because perhaps you're the one who has to maintain and to begin working hard on this, but the others can begin with a voluntary work. Historic acknowledgement is very important, because there are lots of people, if they have previous experience, they understand how ICS works, and you're an example of this. But there is a process for historical recognition. It's a very strict process. And then specific components of the system, as I was saying, they are already here, the same musical score, and it's based on that book that I was mentioning. Now we have in year 2000 to 2002. We have to have support. If we do not have the support from the government, nothing happens. This we had a fire on the Calabasas in California, and when we got there, we decided that we understood ICS, but we did not understand each other, and we did not have enough people to fill in the gaps that we had in the positions, and this was just 20 years ago. So we developed our training courses and all that. Here is tricks. the people to wear all the protection equipment, and they're ready to go. That is part of that. We must educate them on how to wear it, and mainly how to remove or get off the protection equipment when there's Ebola around. In the United States, we saw that people who were working group did to work on this. Had they gave you the historic recognition, but otherwise you had to begin from scratch. The whole system components revision is done by peers. So who would be the best person to know that if a person understands ICS, for example, for logistics, so then a qualified logistics person should review. And this might be a problem, because how can you have an accreditation system when you do not have people who can accredit? So this is like the egg and the hen. We don't know what was first. We need to begin working on that, and of that can be the channel to do this. How can we determine a certification system for people who are going to certify others? This is the first thing that we need to begin thinking how we're going to do that. And then the books of tasks per position. You take the classes, we go, and I'll explain the process. But you take the classes. Once the class is over, you perform some exercise, and you have the position book. You have to have a minimum of 5 big incidents there where you have the experience. And once you get the evaluations, you can have colors, which is the best thing that could be done, because responsibility is going to be passed on to you when you get the certification letter. And courses have to be, as I said, approved by this book. We have a long way. I'm here, up here. But this is all the path I have traveled in 20 years. This is a good opportunity for you to see how you're going to get there. And this is the graph. I began with these qualifications that are as a manager of small units of chainsaws and small equipment, and then you go up to communications management and communications leadership, then branch manager, and then you get to be section manager. But we have to take classes. We have to have 5 big incidents, and once you pass to this, you say, okay, I'm going here. So there you're going to handle the orders, the warehouse, and you have to have, again, classes. And lots of classes are not given every year. They're given every other year. So time goes by. So 20 years it took me to get here. So you have to begin right away. And you see it this way here, and you're going to get that book. But this is not just the position. You have to be qualified into other things. You have to have all this. And Some things have physical requirements. So this is a long path and you have to begin planning. The good thing is that for people who get here, knowledge is more important than the physical condition. And why do we use that book? Because it is the model for certification and titles, and it's approved by all these groups. So that all this works, you have to have, and I saw this because I was looking at your presentations, you have to have the involvement of the groups. This is not just a Red Cross or the fire department, but it's also the health department, and everybody is beginning to get involved with this because we all work on the same emergency. We all work at the same point, which is social security and safety. If we have the sponsorship and the approval of all these people, that's good. Like this book, for example, it was approved by all, so it's on the right track. And the components are the established training standards, which is the book of task by position, recognition of previous experience, as I was saying, at least 5 large events, physical ability requirements of training updates, because once you took your lessons, your classes, you're already qualified, but you have to continue studying. And you do it, for example, in user, you have to take the trench testing every year. Gym, your medical training also, you have to update it every year. And we have a follow-up program which we developed. It's on the internet right now, but it's to follow up on the training. And the idea is that when you follow up on a person regarding training, you must help them reach where they want to go. Because when you're young, you're 23 years old, you want to open up the books, you want to take all the courses, and you don't know where you're going. And that's so good. Enthusiasm is very good. But people that have gray hairs like mine, we know we have interest. What would you like? So one thing that we have to do is that we ask them not to have more than 4 open books at the same time, because that would be 20 major incidents. It's too hard in that position. And you know this, here we have levels 100, 300, 400, 500, 600. This is the municipal president. This for us is Obama. 500 and 600 is Obama. We report to that level. And all these are type 1. Right now I'm beginning my training after 26 years in the department. I have beginning my training for type 1. I hope to finish this before I die. But that's how it looks per group, and this is how these groups vision appear. For groups that do from 100 to 200, this is the process. You have to have the point of entry. The person must comply with the previous requirements. They must have taken that experience. After that, have to go required experience for that. And the book has, the California book has a few examples of what are the books that we need to see. How many people in your position problem is that reach that age. So you lose more people than you gain. So it varies every year. We would like to have a minimum per team. Be available to go to mutual assistance systems as a person in training, as a person in training, not as an already trained person. So to continuing with an incident to be trained, it is important to have complied with that step. Here we have, for example, the attack team leader. The point of entry is training. You have to take the course. Then after the course, the Office of the Fire Department Head of California, you have the certification from that person, and then you have to complete that curriculum that's required here in the book, because some classes have requirements before taking the next class. That's the first one you have to take, 300, 301, 234, 290, and the last one you take is 330, S330. To get to S330, you have had taken 4 courses before, and they are taught just once a year. So these are 5 years of your life to get just there. But classes like the I-300, that's only for classification, but the 290 or 234, to be qualified, you have to have 5 incidents to be qualified as a person who that's the for fire behavior. You have to have these 5. After this, after completing training, you open your task book, and now you can go there. I'm talking about the person who already did this, and it's at this level. So you have to have the task book, and it's a book where they tell you that your head, which is a qualified person, your direct manager in the incident, can tell you what are the good and bad things you did and what parts have you completed of the book. Afterwards, we have the documentation, the training on fires, wild grass management programs, not only on fires, but it could be training. Training can count as a fire if it's an important training. I was talking to our Mexican colleague. He went to a training in California. It took like 1 week. And these intensive trainings count as part of this. Then we give them the training certificate. They have to complete the whole task book to be considered for the peer revision process. Then we recommend it for approval. We pass it on to the fire department head, and then we follow up on data, because it's not just getting there. You have to continue training. I keep this card in a special bag. This is to protect it. This is my card on qualifications. It's like plastic, but without this, this is your passport to enter any country. If you don't have this during an incident in the United States, you will not go in. Even though they know you, even though they know that you have the training, if you didn't show this, you're not coming in. I have a picture in my phone. Should this something happen to this, but this is my Bible, and here I just have two because I cannot keep all the rest. So I am logistics head 3 and 2, and when I move up to 1, I'm just gonna have one card. This is something that I keep very safely here because this is my my passport. Just as if I want to go in and out of the United States, that passport's what I show. For incidents, I show this. When we realize that the staff does not have enough experience, so we go back here again to follow this process. Class doesn't need to be taken again, but you need to reverse experiences. It's very important. If you expect to spend 5 years after the class, you have to go back to taking the course again. And again, the peer revision, there are 3 levels, there are 4 levels. The local are the fire department head, and 100 and 200, that's it. The Emergency Services Office of the State is the operative area, and they just do ICS 300 and the leading level of each of these parts of ICS. Emergency Services Office are ICS 400, and this is the command level and general command staff. And then this is an accreditation system, an online accreditation system. When you reach level A1, twice a year, you have to take courses to stay ready. The question is, are these courses aligned with a more Latin version? Perhaps these are American standards. Just asking, is there an effort and recognition for the version for Mexico down to Chile? It's a very important question. Thank you very much for posing it. Help me answer. We would have to modify the ICS for Latin America, yes or no? Okay, let me ask the question again. Okay, I have Symphony number 5, Beethoven's number 5 Symphony. Do I change it for Latin America or not? No, you don't change it. You translate it. But the idea is that if we have a problem, and my colleague here from Mexico, from petrochemicals, we had a problem in the Gulf of Mexico with British Petroleum. Do you remember that there was an explosion, and then the floodgate opened, and there was a lot of oil on the ocean? If he spoke his own ICS language, could he have communicated with the American people? So basic knowledge remains. It's maintained. We have to speak with Afda and Luisa to translate this, but it will be just the same because you have to speak exactly the same language. So when I say logistics head or logistics session chief, you know what that is and the work you have to do, and I know what's the work that I have to do. And it doesn't matter what the emergency you're covering is. Very good question, because we need to understand that from the beginning. So historic recognition was open just for 2 years, from 2000 to 2004. This was for a specific position. You cannot do it for all. Just every position that you wanted to be recognized is what you submitted the application for. And you should have the training and experience. And yes, we do have equivalencies, and this is more or less what you were asking. Have we got equivalencies of some courses? Perhaps they are equivalent, and these equivalencies are between what we call the NIMS, and you have seen that in your books, and the ICS. We do have equivalencies between the two of them, but we also have equivalency between state courses. It's like college. You begin with the backbone, and but you want to be a forest engineer, and then or you have to change your engineering. The backbone is good for different things, just the same. To reiterate, I love that word, reiterate. To reiterate the level of authority of the for courses 100 and 200. And again, we can use the grading system for 300 again. And who is the person authorizing this? Again, responsibilities are important. The peer revision, it's a committee, and it's just the first committee. People decide who is going to be members. What you want to do when you remember to see the person that's behind you. They must know what to do because it's there's a chairman of a committee. They have a 1-year mandate. Members of the committee are there for a 2-year term to change people, because otherwise it can have habits that are not good. And the agency is the different agency represented by one single member. I give you these experiences because we had problem when help friends. It's very good to help your friend, but oftentimes your friend is not ready. And I think that this is a very high risk of giving the opportunity to your friend of coming with you when you have in the middle lives, structures. And events that totally change the course, not only of these people, for being in a country. We have to be very careful. This is a group of members that's privileged. It's a privilege to do what we do. So here I have people state, and then you continues, but they have to meet annually. They have to review their requests, and we have to. And I apologize because I didn't follow the rules here, just putting a little things and not many things on the screen, but I left it like this for you to take home. I didn't have the possibility of putting this in paper so you can keep people who get upset because they say, oh, I have it now. For example, as I took all that. Yes, but you have the opportunity of appealing. And that very important, and the decisions are definite. So this is the system. there is an old, the picture of an older version, but this is what we use for each person. Everybody has this. We know that what we like of this is there is a page, people who are qualified in all the positions. So you're looking for someone when you need a single, which is an operations head. You can go there. You have Alvaro there for this week, for example. Gordon Graham created the graph I showed you on risk, and we'll have prepared this presentation. I'm using a presentation that we use to convince our heads as to how the process should work. Thank you very much. Questions? The question is, that's for the fire department, but you are also specialized on logistics, which is extremely interesting. Anything that's strictly related to logistics, because this is for fire departments, but logistics is important because we're too close with that. This system is based on one thing. My father told me when I was young, a way of knowing how to give orders is that you know how to take orders. So you have to go through all these processes, begin from base level in the units, and then go to the section and the next section until you become logistics head. This is not exclusive for the fire department. I apologize if I was not clear. This is the ICS that we have been talking about here. It's for all the positions during an event, and I apologize if I was not clear, but this is for all. You have to know the position, and you are a specialist. It's very good, but you have to know the position and the work that each position has to perform. For example, I am a medical technician, for example, and I just can do a few things and ask them, doctors, what do you need from me? I just need you to stabilize this person so that someone comes over who can know how to do advanced medical care, but you're basic. Don't do beyond what you are authorized to do. And that's it. So then I pass this to the person in charge of advanced medical care. That's the community. All my work is here. I pass it on to the leader, and then the leader passes it on to the head. I can speak about what you want. A person is qualified in a given position and is able of going through the whole work of the committee. How long? How much time can this person be in this position with proving activity or work? And what happens if that period of time there's no compliance? We have a limit of 5 years, and in those 5 years you have to go out to an event. You have to keep your qualifications, your books, everything every 5 years. Every 5 years. Forest fires happen, but they do not happen that often. Once, for example, 20 incidents and then 3 years later I just had 1. So it's different every year. The contingency that you have against this is to have large training simulation exercises that count as part of your training. That is a way of not just waiting for something to happen. Certifications in California for foreigners. I'm asking you this because, again, in the United States there is a lot of training in the border, but the characteristics of the training provided to Mexico are very different from the training you have in the U.S., mainly for certification. And we are currently with EPA trying to structure a certification. So for the case of California, I don't know if you have that, the certification for foreigners. Very good question. Certification is national, American, I mean American. Certification in California, what we did was to help. You do have some levels, low levels, remember, local, then state, and then federal. So local and state are, are the simpler ones. If we invite over for people from other states, and we have had like 2 or 3 people from other country who have come to take our classes and learn with us. The thing is that when they go back to their country, who recognizes their certification? Well, the other problem we have is that, being honest, what we do in fires is that forest fires are always at the vanguard here, because it's too different from what the Navy does. I was explaining yesterday that we had the LA airport. When you go out to the ocean. So we had an exercise with the Navy about what happens if a plane hit some birds and then fell immediately on the ocean, and how would we respond to that. We did that a few years ago, and we realized that we spoke totally different languages. It was hard to admit, and we have not been working for a few years. And the military are very stubborn and with hard-set ideas. I have to do this for the Navy, but the idea is that when this is an exercise or a mutual assistance event, you have to know everything, all these things. And Lisa, please tell me if I'm wrong, but the idea is that all of you can know that from Mexico you can go to Nicaragua, and from Nicaragua you can go to Chile. From Chile you can go to Argentina and Brazil. You can exchange globally. That's the idea. I think that that's the idea of being able to get there, of being able to have that exchange, at least in the forest fires component. That's the idea, and having the trust that we can really work together. And I see this in the other areas just the same. But I don't know if this life will last long enough for me to see that. Long work ahead of us. There are already efforts to sit down and meditate. Just the fact, well, now that we did the exercise with Costa Rica, to get to the position Diego has, at least working. It took 15 to 20 years to occupy a department, the position of a departmental head. We know now, and mainly with terrorism, or also with medical conditions like Ebola and measles and others. Just the disease, the farthest away from your country, from just taking a plane. So why not understand each other to be able to help each other? The idea is that you can also come and help us in the United States, because as I was telling you many times, we do not have the capacity for maintaining all these positions. And well, it would be great if we could say, could you please lend me Jim or someone who can help us. And the experiences that you have of things that have happened. I know that Jim is going to speak about that in the medical things that occur locally. If you don't experience them, you won't understand them. And Ebola is one of these things that remind me of things that we didn't understand how to handle them. And we had to go inside the United States, because in Liberia there was no one who could, or in Monrovia we had no one who could help us. What I want is to restate more than idea. I think that this is a need. We're doing it today. We went to Haiti and we had to work there together, and tomorrow we're going to have to go anywhere. Someone might have to come to Costa Rica. So the need is urgent. And mainly with small nearby neighboring countries. We have to lend resources, or big countries like Chile that sometimes they have people from Bolivia or Peru that are close. Bolivia and Peru are closer to the northern part of Chile. It's faster for them to arrive than people from the south of Chile. It's easier for them. For example, in my department, we have mutual assistance with the people who are in the peripheral area of our county, because there are some fire stations that are closer to people, because they have the fire station is down there at the end of their county. Sometimes they arrive even faster than we do. The same thing. Sergio Mendoza from Chile. The process is quite clear, but it takes long, and at some time you said we have to do things today. So this is there is a need of generating regional academies, perhaps, because to concentrate all the experts that we have in our country. In each of our countries, we're not capable of generating a critical mass for this. I think that you even have to have either a regional academy, so that first of all you can help us standardize our way of facing the different emergencies, and to take advantage of all the capacities in one single one. I think that there we could progress faster, because if we're going to continue on the path that you have followed since 1996 with all the capacities and experience that you have, for me to reach your standard, it's going to take too long. So we need to find different ways of approaching this situation, and I think we should have international training centers. I don't know, 3 or 4 in the whole of Latin America. That would be perhaps a quick way of doing this. We do have the capacity that would be clear in generating a situation like this. Yes, it's a good idea. It's very hard to go through this all when you're just beginning. For us, those of us who fight here, and we have to speak about people who was 89 already. He had lots of experience. He was there down there in Florida, retired, and we had to call over and help us, because we do not know anyone who can support us in that process. But the best thing would be to go to the neighboring state. But operation begins from before thinking on how to do that. You said you had sometimes joint work in the border, went from one place to the other. Have you signed or prepared a no problem with Canada. The Canadian border is fine. The Mexican border is somewhat different, because to go to Mexico we have to have the Mexican government has to request this. the support is local, and the first responders are the sister cities. In the border, we have 15 pairs of sister cities from Matamoros, Paso to Tijuana, San Diego. When we have an event, there's a local plan of assistance for sister cities. They have been signed. Every city pair has a joint response plan, and they immediately support each other. If it goes to the state level, the states participate, and if it's federal, then we activate it at the level of Washington and Mexico City. Regarding protocols for the cross-border work, we have to work that with customs in order to expedite crossing the border. You need to count how much equipment, how many people, but to have some fluidity of the equipment. So on paper, we do have, operatively, we have some problems, but that's part of the objectives that we currently have in the joint and Mexico, United States. That's a good question, because that's something different that we need to think of, how to exchange resources, how you're going to exchange knowledge, but how are you going to establish those agreements? And as I was saying yesterday, everything is done here. When we have the emergency, that's not the time of doing this. It's done here. More than a question, this is a comment. I'd like to leverage on realities. From my standpoint, I want to say that this is not a position of the office I represent, but I believe that there is a phrase that I like a lot to use, which is that eagles are the only ones that look beyond the horizon. I think that there are many interesting things. There are coincidences. I'm fully convinced that there are many coincidences about what we are doing. We need to structure this, and there is a long road ahead of us. But I think that there are other things that are smaller, which are greater challenges that we must focus or overcome. For example, interinstitutional jealousy, for example, joint training, procedures alignment. All these are small details that, for me, these are the first barriers that we must overcome. We have to very clearly establish the relationship that we should have between institutions within the framework of a system, and which have to be very closely aligned with other factors that have to be around. For example, certifying agencies, public policy from national civil protection systems to establish these premises to be able to have a starting point. I understand that in the United States this is quite practical, because there is a whole organization that has been clearly defined and established, and mainly with very stringent standards, well tested, agreed upon, and validated. I contrast this with the protocols that have already been elaborated, and procedures in the different countries are not even official. So there are smaller things, more important things, that right now it would be crucial to give them a solution to, in order to be able to have good basis upon which we can base everything that you have managed so well. Thank you. Oh, that's a good idea. That's the real thing. You are developing very quickly with all the knowledge that you have, and many of you begin, okay, give this, and now what? What's next? What are we going to do now? So the intention of this presentation is to share what we have and to plant the seed, because here between Sergio and you and the young man from Colombia, we have 3 things that we need to begin to work on. Of knowledge and customs, procedures, and protocols. How we're going to do this, not only at the country level, but at the Central American and Latin American levels. So there's a lot to be done, and I would like, I don't know if Jerry McClellan is here, to I would like to include United States and Panama in the same process. It could be an emergency of people, but for example, right now we have a forest emergency in California with some little critters that are eating the oaks. They're eating the trees, and the way in which you go to a place to another, that's the lumber that we use to burn. And when everybody goes to camp, they take the lumber, and this is spreading out so fast. Someone can go to the United States, bring some piece of lumber of these trees to Mexico, and we can have that same pest in Mexico. These are multiple things that can happen. Okay, Jay, thank you very much. Lunch. We are pleased to be back at 1:30. And we have a space reserved in the second floor at the end towards the garden of Block 2. I remember when we come back, go back, take your translation devices, and do not forget to go and make your reservation for going back to the airport. Bon appetit, thank you. And my internal colleagues, goodbye. To my internal colleagues, I want to thank you for your participation. We'll be back at 1:30. Central American time. Please keep your comments through social networks. Good afternoon and bon appetit.